Creating cloud.
Yes. Well, here we are. Episode 4. We've made it, Mike.
Well, I don't think anyone cares, but we care, don't we, Darrell?
We're still here. We're still here.
Yes.
Yes. And so we're going to answer some big questions today. And Mike's going to answer some big questions for me. So I spend most of my life trying to convince people that you can innovate systematically. And the roots of what we do are a methodology called TRIZ. We've mentioned it in the past. We try not to mention it, but it's one of those amazing things that almost nobody's heard of and nobody wants to hear of. And it kind of just sits there as some weird cultish thing. And the paradox, I think, is maybe not specific to TRIZ. I think it happens to a lot of things in life. How can you have something which is important, evidence-based, proven to be useful, and yet nobody's interested in it? So that's your challenge. You've got to solve that problem for me today.
Easy, dead easy.
Go on then.
Well, firstly, you might want to take notes, Darrell, because
I usually do.
Yes, you know those diagrams you draw that you end up with circles of causation.
Yes.
Yes.
Perception.
Well,
Yes.
I feel one of those coming on, but I'm no good at it. But I did try. Anyhow, so I think what we need a little bit for, as you said, not a lot of people know about the theory, what you're going on about. So very succinctly, explain what it is, okay, and take it past the coming up with good ideas. Because we know that only 2% of good ideas turn into useful things. Yeah,
we do know that. Yes.
So your system takes us all the way to a useful thing, and that's one of the reasons it's better than everything else.
It starts with useful things. So go and reverse engineer all those things that found themselves in the rare 2% and look for commonalities amongst those things. I feel like it's the DNA of what works in life. And the database, about 11.5 million case studies, so we've been doing it a long time. The Soviet people that did it before us started doing it in 1947. So its whole premise is most things fail. Go and look at the people that were successful and decant all that information into a set of principles that will allow other people then to be able to replicate and also innovate themselves. And I think what's a little bit paradoxical about it is that if you like, innovation is about breaking rules. And what this methodology gives us is a set of meta rules, if you like, sort of rules for breaking rules in an effective manner rather than just breaking them and creating stuff which is worse.
Hello. Can you hear me?
I can. I think you've got a red signal at your end.
Yes, you broke up for a bit, which is interesting. I wonder if, because we're recording to the cloud might have got it. We'll have to see. So, but right. So, to my simple mind, that's where TRIZ was in the TRIZ community of kind of coming up with these good ideas. Okay, that solve the contradiction. Yeah, but I get the impression that a lot of things fall on the wayside before they become products or concepts that change the world. And I got the impression that a lot of your value add is saying, look, we've got this beautiful way of identifying the right problems and coming up with groundbreaking, mold-breaking solutions to them that we can actually get a normal bunch of people to come up with 3 of those rather than relying on some genius sitting on top of a filing cabinet. But that's just the start of a very long journey. And I got the impression that you kind of pretty soon realised that one of the reasons people weren't adopting this is because it's if you fall at the first fence, you don't get to win the race. So you kind of looked at all the other fences in the grand national product development. If you
Yeah,
like.
I mean, you talked about drawing one of those funny maps, and we've done that a couple of times now. We did it back in probably early 2000s, and we wrote a big long list of here's all the reasons we can see why people don't want to look at this stuff, and then we updated it in probably about 2020, and I'm kind of thinking that we ought to update it again because the amount of change that's happened in the world in the last 5 years is probably greater than the amount of change that happened in the previous 15 years. So you're helping me to do that job. But yeah, I think when we've done that exercise before, let's just catalog all the reasons that you hear people talk about and the ones that people are probably a little bit embarrassed to talk about, but you can kind of glean from them anyway. And so we've got some clues, but yeah, nevertheless, we've certainly not unlocked the secret.
Right, okay. So let me have a go. Totally independent. There's been no fiddling going on,
Yes.
as you'll probably tell from the quality of my suggestions. Uh, so the first problem I think is right. So you get some people together and you turn the handle and they identify a good problem to solve, and you turn the handle a bit more and they come up with, let's say they come up with a dozen good solutions to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're at that stage now. Well, okay. Let's keep it simple. There's no crazy bunch. They've come up with 100 good solutions. Okay. Now, I suppose you could say that already by running the process, the chances of any of those ideas getting to the end are greater than 2%. Is that fair to say?
It should be, yes.
Okay. Well, let's say they're up to 10% now, but you've still got to choose the 10. Yeah, you've got to choose the 1 in 10 uh, to to back. So, are there any tools to do that? Because one of the things that you said to me a while ago, which really stuck in my memory, is you go through this process, you get all these ideas, and then what happens? You get a bunch of managers that basically vote for the best one. And without any better method, what they do is they pick quick and easy. So quick means that they're not thinking long term, and easy means they'll pick the one with the lowest commitment, basically.
Yes. And then try and justify it with some kind of a quantitative process that said, okay, well, yeah, this one got 25 votes and this one got 6 votes. So
Yeah,
therefore
yeah.
this
So
one's the winner.
once you've made a decision, humans are just totally awesome at justifying it, however crazy it
Yeah,
is.
absolutely. Yeah.
So is there anything in your tool set that addresses that?
That's a good question. Is there anything that's you're kind of in the hands of the client when you get to this stage, and that yeah, much as you'd love to say it's that idea over there, Dommy, then the client didn't really want to hear that, especially if, when we reach the voting stage and the managers are thinking about their time and effort for the next 12 months, whatever it is, developing the idea. But I think one of the things I always try and talk about is that, yeah, forget about quantifying, is this answer better than this answer? I think, yeah, I mean, you must have experienced it when you've had an inventive solution to a problem and you thought to yourself, you know what, that's a damn good idea. And then quickly followed by that frustration of why did it take me all this time to think of that? I think those emotive reactions are as powerful as any quantified method at all. In other words, you know that you've had a good solution because yeah, it doesn't fit the norm. It represents a genuine step change, and you know that when you show it to other people, they're going to go, "Oh my goodness, yeah, that's great."
Right. Okay. So I think what you've just said to me is that you do not have a formal process for assessing which
There's a
is the best
there's
idea.
there's certainly a formal process for doing the um, scientific calculation. So that multi-criteria decision analysis, the chapter in the first book that says, right at the last, right at the end, okay, you've got all these ideas now. You're going to rank them. You're going to look at the criteria. You're going to score them against. You're going to weight those criteria. And some companies use that, but so what I'm effectively saying right now is that I know what we've done on our own projects. It's that emotive um, reaction that you get, that wow moment when you realise that is a really good idea. You don't need
Right. So
you don't need
so
a
so
good
I
grid.
yeah. I think I've read the same books about doing, write down everything you want in terms of requirements, and then score the solution based on all those requirements. And it's meant to, if I suppose if nothing else, it makes you think about it a bit more. But and I remember then you kind of ignore that and pick the one you liked, which is based on a motive.
Yeah, yeah. I
But
mean, people do things for a good reason and a real reason, right? So the real reason is that emotional brain telling us
yes,
that's a fantastic idea, but then we've got to rationalize it to explain it to other people.
but going back to what you said, which is, well, you seem to think that you can pick the winners, and you get this emotional reaction when the people who are paying you money don't pick the same horse, and you get upset. Isn't that a fair summary?
I wouldn't say upset. I mean, I think frustrated, and I rarely would
Yeah, yeah,
show it
yeah.
with customers. I might say to the managers up as, well, so you need to tell me what we need to do about with this one over here that you didn't pick to get it into the winners category. But
So,
yeah,
so, so but is it just 30 plus years of doing this that enables you to see it? And is that something you cannot quantify or codify?
yeah, we probably could codify. I mean, yeah, the research team, and when I'm looking at patents, so we do a patent of the month in the magazine.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
one of the best. I mean, we've got a software tool that basically reads the patents and it's going to point us towards. The wow ones are probably in this direction here, so that you look at this 100 rather than these 3,000 over here. But nevertheless, I think it's when I'm doing a pattern of the month, it's still steered very much by that emotional reaction of, yeah, that's a really neat idea. I wish I'd thought of that.
Right. Okay. Well, food for thought. But I think, the Malcolm Gladwell book I read, which was about the 10,000 hours, it
Yeah.
made the point that if you don't get feedback, it doesn't matter how long you do spend doing something, because if you don't get feedback on how successful you are at whatever you're doing, you don't learn the lessons.
Uh,
You with me?
I am. I think it depends. What do you mean by feedback? Because I'm not sure that Malcolm Gladwell totally knew what he meant by feedback.
Oh,
He
you're
certainly doesn't
prejudiced against him,
understand it the same way
obviously.
that I do.
Well, I'm talking about if your job is to, I don't know, specify a very early part of the process, yeah, and you're a contractor and you specify it, and then you go off because it's a very specialized thing, and then you go and do it with another company, and you never actually get to see the feedback from whether that specification worked. You with me? That's the
Okay.
feedback I mean, yeah. So, uh, so trust me on this one, Darrell.
Okay. Go with it.
I mean, it's obvious. It's bloody obvious. If you don't see the end results of the early stages of the process, you're not going to learn very much. I think that's obvious.
Is that we in systematic innovation not learning stuff?
No, no, no,
You
no,
think?
no, no. This is. I'm not getting at you. I quite like to, but I'm not. It's just generally, yeah. You see it. You see it in managers. A lot of successful managers. They kind of go and reorganise everything, and everyone thinks that's a good theory, and they get promoted, and they bugger off and join another company and do exactly the same thing, and they never actually
Yeah.
notice that they've screwed everything up because they don't get the feedback. Yeah. So
Uh, yeah.
what I'm
Okay.
saying is, you come up with all these ideas, and you use whatever method to rank the best one. Well, if it's going to take I don't know, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months to actually get a good one through to the end. Yeah. And if it might fail for many other reasons that it wasn't a good idea, yeah.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that it's hard to know whether it's a good idea. So
Yeah, I mean, I think in that sense, what I come back to, I'm going to use the C word again.
yeah,
That that I think when you look at those emotional reactions to a solution that you think to yourself, yeah, that is just fantastic, and then you dig into, okay, what actually happened there, then uh, almost guaranteed, what's behind that wow solution is somebody solved a contradiction. So that manager that you talked about a few seconds ago that comes along and reorganizes things, in all probability, they didn't solve a contradiction. What they did is they moved a trade off from one place to another. So, one man, the previous manager has basically delegated to everybody, and so the next manager comes in and thinks, I better change stuff, haven't I, to show that I'm in charge. So I'm now going to put it all under central control. So we'll just reverse everything that the previous manager did. I can say that I've changed the organisation, but the reality is all I've done is the pendulum has swung from one side, and I've now swung it back to the other side. But nobody's solved anything. Yeah, and that's what life pretty much is. It's this zero sum bias we've all got inside our heads. Basically, says to those managers, yeah, you've got to do something different. But yeah, there's no tool in the toolkit for recognizing or solving a contradiction. So they just shift the trade off from one place to the other. Yeah, I mean, most of
well,
history is that.
yeah. So interestingly, as you know, the latest book I've been reading is Delivering Happiness about Zappos, and uh, now it's got lots of nice ideas in there. So I'm not going to totally dish him, but in terms of uh, making Zappos a great company and selling it to Amazon for however many billions, his two really big ideas seem to be uh, have good customer service and be nice to employees, right? And I think
How cynical of you.
that but the thing is, the whole pendulum had swung so far the other way that they
Yeah.
were truly innovative, can't even say it. So, and I was just thinking back to a little bit of history in England, like Cadbury's. You had all these kind of Quakers that were they had a culture that was they were outsiders because they were Quakers,
Yeah.
and they started a lot of kind of successful organisations, and I don't know about the customer service side of things. They must have been okay on that, but they certainly looked after their workers. You know, they had that whole kind of ethos. So it's
Yeah. Mm.
and that pattern is probably repeated like you said over and over again. So there's some I'm going on, but it's concrete examples. So it kind of meshes.
Yeah. I mean, I think Zappos in also in their defense, I think they did make a jump. I think what tends to happen with a lot of startups that grow to become the big companies is they had an idea which broke a trade-off that everybody else in the industry was doing. So yeah, it sounds obvious now. Treat people like adults inside your organization, but you can place a fair bet that once that culture that's been developed in Zappos gets transferred to another organization, the leaders in that next organization, Amazon, are going to say, treat people like adults. What? Yeah, well,
Yeah,
the rest of
yeah,
the
yeah,
company's not
yeah.
going to do that. So, damn that, we're going to go back to hierarchies, please.
Stick them on a
And
minimum wage. Yeah.
exactly. So, I
Yeah.
mean, you can see that kind of value destruction all over the place. Without naming names, we've got several clients that their business model is pretty much merger and acquisition, and the amount of money they throw away by buying an organization for a capability of technology and then absolutely destroying it because of the
Right.
people
Yeah,
issues.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So goodness me. So that was just the first one. So because full disclosure, oh goodness knows, 10 years ago went to one of your workshops, Darrell.
Yeah, and it's still stuck firmly in your mind. I know, I can see that. It's
Well,
probably longer than that. It's probably about 12 years ago, I reckon.
so one of my superpowers is I kind of forget pretty much everything after about 2 months. Uh, so
Yeah,
if anything
64 days.
sticks in my head, I don't know, it's got to be good, really. So what am I saying that for? Oh, I totally lost the thread. So
You were
uh,
gonna accidentally compliment me, I think.
no, 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 no. Right. So well,
Yeah,
no.
pride.
Yeah. So what I was thinking is maybe because almost certainly because I'm pretty genius, I would come up with some great ideas. Yeah, but I wouldn't have been sure they were great ideas because I you know
I think
without
you would.
having a company to take them through to fruition. That you
Yeah,
can't
I
tell. That,
I think you can know whether something is a good idea or not. I think yeah, what's much more difficult is knowing whether you can get it all the way through the system. Because I think the one of the important pieces in the innovation jigsaw, how to get in the 2% of being successful, you need to have the right problem, the right solution, and then you need to be able to execute it. And I think a lot of
yeah, yeah, yeah,
organizations
yeah.
fail at that third stage. So it's got to be
But
executable.
let's just hack away at this idea of good ideas are obvious, okay? Because I've noted that some this I don't know how long ago there was you couldn't everywhere you go there'd be a birthday card or a gift card or something like that, and it would basically have a wide angle photograph of a dog or a cat. Do you remember that?
Yes. Yeah.
Now that was an amazing innovation because really cheaply you produced a product of no utility whatsoever that anybody in quotes sensible thinks is a totally just useless and horrible thing. Okay, that's what I think because I'm very prejudiced and a bit snobby. But it was just so so what I'm saying here is that some good ideas are just so counterintuitive to do you see what I mean? I don't know
No,
whether this is
yeah,
a point or not.
I can certainly see that. I think I mean, that those wide lens images. First of all, I fell into that trap because I first saw that over in Hong Kong, and I brought a bunch of those cards back home, and it was a wow with friends for a couple of days.
Oh, you actually like them?
As well,
Oh,
for a very short period of time, I think it's one of those things where as soon as it becomes ubiquitous, then
right. Okay.
it's
Okay.
not clever anymore. But I think the deeper point behind that is I think we did analysis on you look at the 2% of people that have been successful with their innovation attempt, and then you think about okay, well, was this a meaningful solution? So did this move in a positive direction as far as welfare of mankind, or however you want to think about it? And about 75%, the answer is no. So those wide lens pictures definitely in the no category. They're not making life better for anybody. They give us a laugh for
Yes.
30
Right.
seconds
Okay.
and that's it. But so you can say okay, 2% are successful, then 75% of those 2%. So you're now left with 0.5% are actually meaningful and are driving society in a positive direction. Now, I realize
So,
there are all sorts of dangers with who gets to decide what a positive direction is. But I think we're back to that emotive reaction again. So let me give you a story. I think when we first started, nobody's heard of innovation consultants. So we used to say, okay, well, no success, no fee. That's how confident we are in our service. So I think we only ever once didn't get paid. And I still think about that story because it's a guy who, small company, he made security cameras,
yeah.
and he got this beautiful design, very elegant Swiss watch of security camera design. So it's got three moves in three axes to
Yeah.
survey a
Yeah.
room. And he said the problem is it's just too expensive. So can you help me make it cheaper?
Right.
So we used the process and we said, okay, well, here's a camera that doesn't require any moving parts at all, and it will cover the whole room. and he looked at the solution he came up with, and you could see the flash in his eye. He knew that this is the solution, but at the same time, when I'd failed was um, he loved slip rings and mechanical design. Yeah, and so as soon as I took all that stuff away, he was now also very unhappy. So you could
Yeah,
literally see the
yeah, yeah,
dissonance
yeah.
in his head. Yeah, brilliant solution. It's going to chop out about 80% of the cost of the security camera, but now I don't get to make my slip rings that I love making. And so yeah, he then had to go into this bizarre argument of why my solution wouldn't work, and therefore he didn't have to pay me. And so, of course, yeah, my patience with having those arguments is pretty limited. So I said, okay, well, I'll tell you what, this is probably not going to get resolved. Thanks for your time, and yeah, I wish you every success. And it's only a year later when we're doing the patent research and we find somebody, not this guy, had patented exactly the idea that
Right,
we'd
right.
come up with. Yeah, and yeah, I was sorely tempted to send him the patent and say, but I didn't
Oh,
need
well
to
done.
because
You
pretty
didn't. That's
was.
right. Good. So we've covered my first point then.
Oh my
Uh,
goodness, how many points have you got?
well, I've got about a dozen. Uh, so
It's an endurance
right.
podcast.
Okay, here we go. So here's my cake theory.
Clearly, okay, it's
So
got a
so
name.
have
It
you
must be
been
good.
you've been all over Europe, right? So they've got good cake shops, haven't they?
Yeah.
They've got good, much better than over here as a rule.
Oh, I don't. Oh, tricky.
Well, anyway, so if you look at a cake shop, what is the criteria you use for buying a cake?
Me personally,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, how much icing it's got on it, probably. How
Right,
many
there you
evil
go.
things I can
There you go, you
I
see.
can even.
So some of these things, some of these cakes are they're just like work of art. They're colourful and they've got icing and they just you just want to buy them, okay? But alongside of those things, they're kind of brown splodges that look like turds. Okay. So so think about that then. So what I think is your people buy that not because it looks pretty, because it tastes absolutely delicious. So I go for the boring brown slodges, and they taste generally better than the pretty things. Okay,
Yeah,
so that is Conroy's third law. Okay, Conroy's third law. I'm doing
I
one
won't ask you what
now.
the first two are.
I've forgotten actually. But anyway,
That's why I won't ask you.
so that means in this context that's because I like novelty. You see, and this is kind of this
Yeah,
Conroy's third law helps me restrain my thirst for novelty. So I came up with a load of ideas on how to the solution to the problem we're investigating, and I also, as I do all the time, is I went to uh, chatbot and asked it the same questions, and one of the things it said, and these are the brown things, so lack of standards. Okay, and I'm thinking, oh, it's so boring and brown. I can't be bothered to talk about it because it's just standards, so boring. But I'm wondering, applying Conroy's third law, is there some juicy goodness inside of that statement?
uh, in theory there ought to be. I think in practice, so I think that others in the innovation world have had similar thoughts, and so there is an international standard for innovation management these days, which on the one hand you say, okay, well, great, let's get everybody to at least a common understanding of what innovation means. Unfortunately, it's a standard that's being written by people that don't understand innovation and come from a world of continuous improvement and try to extend what they've already done in that world without understanding that innovation world is completely different. I mean, 180 degrees is completely different. And so what you end up with is this functional document, which now more and more companies are thinking, okay, well, I need to demonstrate my innovation prowess. So the only way I can do that is I can go and collect the badge. And the badge and all the work that goes alongside getting the badge basically is going to make my company worse at innovation.
Yes, I can see that, but
So
if
there's
we,
nothing fundamental about that. You could have written a good standard, but unfortunately,
yes,
the world tends
yeah,
not to
yeah,
write
yeah.
good standards.
But if we look at TRIZ, we focus on that, and so the wider kind of systematic innovation. So there's the
Mm.
40 principles, yeah. I mean, how standardized are those?
They're standardized enough that if you go to a TRIZ conference, you'll find people telling jokes, and the punchline to the joke is Principle 7. So, unless
That
you
sounds
know the
fascinating.
code,
Oh, I just want to go to one of those conferences.
it's good for about 2 hours, I reckon.
Well,
Uh, then I've had
I wouldn't
enough.
do very well because I
It's-
only know one
So,
principle. So,
so I think one of my stock phrases is that the sequencing principles in the chronological order that you found them is not ideal, but it's a bit like the QWERTY keyboard on our computers.
yeah, 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 yeah.
I mean, it was designed to slow things down, and it's completely irrelevant. But unfortunately, it's also locked in.
It is what it
So
is, and
yeah,
you've got a contradiction there, haven't you?
well, we
Between
have,
wanting to
and
change it, yeah.
I have tried several times to change it, and it's probably my best strategy for generating hate mail is every time I try and restructure things, it's like, don't touch this.
Right, right, you've also got this matrix thingy where you can look at an improving factor and another factor, and you come up with the contradict. I don't know. You've got a matrix thingy,
I've got a
yeah.
matrix thingy, yes, which you remember well from our workshop 12 years ago.
Well, yes, whatever,
You just demonstrated.
and so this is something I do want to kind of delve into in a future podcast. But you put a lot of work in that. But the point here is that you've mucked around with the matrix. Sounds pretty
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, we have.
Which
I
so
mean,
is there a standard matrix then?
there isn't. No, so we're in a bizarre situation that the founders of the contradiction tool um,
Yeah,
have a certification organization. We're back to standards again, aren't we?
yeah,
And
yeah.
I've been public enemy number one for changing all this stuff. So I thought, okay, we'll try and solve the contradiction. I'll work with a couple of the well-known Soviet team, and we'll put out a book together. All our names will be on the book, and here's a new matrix.
You
So
bring
it's
them
got,
inside the tent, basically. Yeah.
yeah, bring them inside the tent. So yeah, we did that. I have to say that we did 99% of the work, but it was worth it just to get their names on the
Yeah, yeah,
cover
yeah,
of the book. Then a week after the launch, somebody in Mexico interviewed one of my Russian co-authors and said, "What do you think of the book?" Then, and he said, "I'm embarrassed by it."
right. So
So,
it didn't have a
so,
happy ending then.
end of cooperation. So from that point forwards, I said, "Okay, right. Well, we'll keep doing the research." So now we're in a situation where Germany is my favourite country for this. This certification organisation. Lots of people in Germany want the badge.
Uh-huh.
And to get the badge, you've got to use the original Soviet matrix. And yeah, all the Germans that do the program know that our tools are now way, way better than the original one. So they use our tools, but then they've got to redo all their case studies in the format of the old contradiction matrix so they can get their certification.
Well, Darrell, thank you very much because you I've got my little circles and blobs. So I've got divided community. Okay.
Yes. And
So
I've divided, you're telling me I've divided the community.
no, I'm not. I'm not accusing you of anything.
I probably have,
So
though.
I'm saying a divided community, a lack of standards, potentially leads to mixed messaging. Uh, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that's from memory. I should have looked up the previous two maps we've drawn. I think yeah, you've definitely got a vicious cycle for us there. I think there's a new emerging one, but I think yeah, you've done some good homework, Mike.
Okay. Well, anyway, keep going. Uh,
Shall I tell you what the oh, go on. Well,
No, go on, go on.
I'll tell you what I think the new one is. I think the new
Okay.
one is that people have got so much change going on in their lives, and I think we've all got a finite capacity to deal with that change.
Yes.
So Darrell comes along with a tool that says, okay, well, I can help you change much more systematically and therefore much more quickly. Is kind of anathema now that says I've already got too much change, so now you're telling me that we're going to be able to change even more than I am, and I don't know the solution to that one yet, other than the fact that
Oh,
the
you're saying
price
it
has
the wrong way.
appeared.
That's why. You're saying it in the wrong way. It's
Tell tell me how to say it a better way.
well, so everybody is stressed out because things are changing so fast.
Yes.
So the change is a given. Whether they so what you're saying is let's use a nautical analogy. So you lost at bloody sea, uh, and you're being blown by the four winds all over the place. So you say you're coming, or you're giving them a bloody compass and says change is a given. This is how you navigate through this perilous situation. This will give you direction and some sort of feeling of control. Uh, that's a good message.
Yes, people like control.
They
I
do.
like I like that. I think that I mean I think I think a lot of people still don't accept change as a given. I think a lot of people are just so overwhelmed that it's just like stop with the change.
No, oh, no, no, absolutely. I think I've got an image right in my head right now of the whole world, the entire planet with a load of ostriches in. As this
Yeah,
wave of change comes towards them, they're sticking their head in the ground.
yeah. There's the metaphor I think about. I'm thinking about a merry-go-round. I'm thinking about a merry-go-round,
Right.
merry-go-round with flamingos or ostriches with their heads buried down at the bottom of the merry-go-round. Yeah, stop the world. I want to get off. Versus, I can't see what's happening.
So,
I
right,
think,
good. So we got through three circles, and I've got a few more that are in the same vein, which is academic. The academic world
yeah,
has not picked it up, uh, and as a result of that, uh, you don't get badges and gongs. Well,
yeah.
it sounds like there's a bit of badges and gongs going on,
Yeah, but
but
it's not part of the official system. So yeah, totally agree.
exactly,
I think the
exactly.
academic world is overwhelmingly against this. Because it's in theory, academia is about building a mountain of knowledge. Unfortunately, what Triz did right from its origins is start to build a new mountain, and it's two separate mountains.
Uh, is that right? Or did it look at the existing mountain of knowledge in a new way and
Well, no,
classify it
I
better?
think it did, but I think it did. That will be my argument. But getting academia to listen to that argument, I think, is pretty tough. It's just because I think the way academia works is, well, show me the references. Yeah, and if what the original researchers did is they trawled through the existing mountain and said, oh, let's look at it this way instead of this way, but they didn't reference back to any of the things that they found. I think they were in it wasn't part of their job. They were trying to find systematic ways of solving problems. They weren't trying to build a new mountain. They just happened to build a new mountain.
But haven't you subsequently used your whatever tools to uh, build up a substantial body of the same type of evidence, which kind of dwarfs
Yeah,
the original evidence?
yeah,
And isn't that referenceable?
I play the game occasionally. So yes, we do publish papers at conferences. Whether it has any impact or not, I don't know. I mean, perhaps a story. I'm not sure whether to finish it. But we worked with one of the big universities in India, for example. And we had one professor who was a big fan of what we were doing, and his big thing was we need to get our postgrads writing more papers and getting more papers accepted in conferences.
Right.
So they have enormous cohorts there. So he had a cohort of 200 in his year, which is like
Yeah,
10
yeah.
times what you'd see in UK academia. So we gave them some of the tools and pointed them towards the topics that they were interested in. And a bit like the game we played inside our company that I talked about last week, we got them to write papers, and 137 of them got accepted.
Wow.
Uh,
That's amazing.
and
That is, yeah.
it's I mean it was brilliant. Except of course, what happens next year? The other members of the faculty in the university are now completely pissed off because they're still operating at 2 papers accepted and 3 papers accepted. Now they look like idiots.
Ah,
And so what did they do? They encouraged my friend to retire.
right. Which come, aha. So, Darrell, I've set you up
Yes,
perfectly. So this is Darrell as a virus, okay? A
yes,
cultural virus. So, so what is it? I wasn't going to do this, but because I'm very pleased with it. So what is culture? So it's a kind of well, what are the characteristics for it? Is it kind of lasts a fairly long time? Because otherwise, if it changes all the time, you can't really define it. So for anything in a changing world to last a long time, to use a biological analogy, it must have an immune system
yeah,
which fights against change. That's how it. So and that's why we're all ostriches, because we're built in a culture that's kind of self-reinforcing. Us as individuals en masse are or some of us are the red blood cells, particularly people who've got a lot to lose, i.e., professors in academies, or people who've got a framework like Six Sigma. Yeah.
mm,
Uh, oh, sorry. Aside. So one of the things we were talking earlier, Darrell was saying, uh, it's like democracy. Kind of systematic innovation is not perfect, but it's better than all the rest. And I've done it. Asked Pi, my chatbot, what are all the other systems that do invention? I frankly, I don't think any of them do invention, because Six Sigma
mm.
it's the
It's the
polisher.
complete opposite. It's
It's
good
not a
word.
saw. It's
Yeah,
it's a sandpaper. Yeah, it
yeah,
optimizes things.
yeah.
So anyway, so we're going to do a session on that, and we're going to dish all the other inventive sessions and see if there's any goodness in the ones that have got goodness in. So
Right.
here we are. We've got this culture, and so I came up with this analogy of society as a single person. Okay, so the bulk of society is your head, your torso, and your legs, right? And then you've got a right arm, which is your libertarian arm, okay, and you've got your left arm, which is your woke arm. so so normally, when you're in balance, okay, your immune system is protecting you from outside invaders,
Yeah,
bacteria and whatever. But what's happened to society at the moment is that the left and the right has got has got hold of your 2 arms, and, they're they're now part of the body, and they're trying to defend themselves, and they're trying to defend themselves. Literally, they've each got a knife in their hand, and they're each stabbing the other arm, and the body's looking at it, thinking, "What on earth is going on? How did this come about?"
can't wait to see your AI generated image for this episode.
So anyway, I've got that out of my system now, so that explains the culture wars. So that's great.
You
So
need to build into that metaphor somehow that the left arm can't tell what the right arm's thinking about anymore.
so right. So what else have I got? This one of the things the defensive attributes of culture, that our culture, which is global, because the Western sort of academic mean has pretty much taken over the whole world. I think that's fair to say. That's fair to say in terms of the
Yes, I
academic
think,
institutes
yeah, I
you've
think,
met in India and
yeah,
China. They're kind of
I
based on the
would,
Western.
I would say that they're all based on 19th century Prussian. Yes,
Yeah, there we go. There we go. So our culture absolutely worships specialism. I think that's fair to say.
yes. As not forever, but certainly for the 20th century. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yes, absolutely. If you go back to the days of Darwin, the alchemists and whatever, they were generalists. But it's like you say, things swing from one extreme to the other. So we've gone to the other extreme, and there's
Mm.
kind of there's pressures that push us that way because there's just a lot more knowledge to handle, and that's one of the big problems that society has to deal with, and it's just gone a bit too crazy in saying there's a new specialism that pops out every day, soon going to be every bloody
Yeah.
second. We need to create a little group who know about this, who do their own little thing, who are inventing
Mm.
their own little wheels, etc., etc. So, but but the key point is that culturally we pay those people lots of money. you
Yeah,
know,
yeah. I mean, the whole system's locked. We're talking about locked-in systems like QWERTY keyboards. Yeah, I would say that mechanism is locked in because academia teaches that way.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So that does, you know, yeah, does create a big barrier to uh, uh, one of the one of the foundational aspects of systematic innovation is that someone somewhere else has solved the problem. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I think yeah. When was the last time we had this horizontal perspective on the world? So the generalist Renaissance Italy. So since then, there's been a gradual and now a rapid rush towards specialization, and I think the tide is turning because too many problems in society the specialists can't solve. It requires the person that can connect the dots between the different disciplines. So I think
Yeah,
one of our tasks is to
if
try and find an institution that sees the world in that horizontal way, the generalist way, the specialist generalist, if you like.
so if we do this right, we're going to swing back into the positive, just near the end to leave everybody smiling. Uh, so what else have I got? I'm kind of running on weak fumes now. So we don't have uh, so so one of the reasons you could say that people haven't adopted, haven't warmed to this idea, is that it's too complicated, right? So
Yeah.
my engineering training says, let's find something extreme. And what happens with that? So quantum mechanics, okay? There's nothing, as far as I can see, more complicated than that because nobody bloody understands it. The people who do it don't understand it. So
Yeah.
that's right up there.
Yeah.
But that has been massively, massively successful in adoption, wouldn't you say?
I like the thought. Yeah. Yeah, I would say so. And I think part of that unexplainability is perhaps the key. So it's like people often ask me, give me the 30-second elevator pitch on
Yeah.
what you do. And it's like, well, would you like me to give you a 30-second elevator pitch on quantum mechanics? Yeah, it's just a dumb question.
Right.
And
So, yeah. So, me being me, I didn't think about the problem too much and jumped straight to solution. Like everyone else does, apart from
it's a
you.
human
But
trait,
anyway,
don't worry.
yes. So, or maybe I'm just trying to make a point. So, quantum mechanics has got a couple of poster boys. It's Schrodinger and Heisenberg. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even more than that, aha, Conroy's second law. It's got a cat in it. I've just remembered Conroy's second law. Conroy's second law is that all PowerPoints should have pictures of puppies and cats in because it makes them better, you see. So and
Okay.
I've really missed a trick here because it should be a more generic rule. Because one of the reasons that quantum mechanics is so successful, and I'm actually serious about this, it's because of the bloody cat.
Schrodinger's cat. Yes. Okay. Right. Okay.
So
That's going to be
here's
that'll be my challenge for next week.
right. Here's another example of this that I saw this very afternoon. So the Japanese space landing thingy. Are you following that?
A little bit. Yeah.
So basically, they landed a probe on the moon and it fell over. And
Yeah. Battery not working. Yeah.
uh, and really cool. The really cool thing is they waited for the sun to get to the right angle where it's shining on the sideways solar panel, so that it's working now. And they took a picture. Seriously, I take photographs. This is the most boring and crappy picture in the world because it's a picture of a bit of bumpy land, right? So but the whole world is looking at this picture because they said it looks like a toy poodle. So me and my dad spent a good 5 minutes trying to see this this toy poodle. So,
All
so
right.
what happened there is by the insertion of a fluffy mammal into the story, you probably got literally 10,000 more views on the BBC website and websites all over the world because people were saying, "Where is this poodle?" Sorry, I'm taking it down to
Okay.
my level. Yeah,
No, no,
yeah.
it's an important point. And next week I'm going to invite my cats onto the session. See what we can come up
Yes,
with.
yeah, you've got it. You got it. So, uh, so without uh, those figures, you see, you can do with those. So that's why we're exposing you to the world, Darrell. So you can be the Schrodinger Heisenberg of systematic. Well, you already are,
Nah.
but it's just people don't know it yet. Uh,
Well, thank you for that,
so it
Dave.
says not sexy, not the route to wealth. So you need to get sexier and have more money, Darrell.
We're doomed.
No, it's just kind of dye your hair or something. That's it. Uh, no, we've done it. No, we haven't quite done it because we need to end on a more. There's one I missed off, right? So
Well,
the
I think we should end with your second law of cats. Funnily enough.
so I wrote down why one of the reasons was that it's not needed. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Oh, I also remembered a couple others now. So why do you need this thing? Because people have been inventing things forever and they've been
Yeah.
using systematic innovation.
Yeah.
Uh,
Good point.
and then I also wrote the famous inventors weren't inventors. So what do I mean by that?
I don't know.
Uh,
I
well,
mean,
uh, did they really? So to use your precise analytical analogy, are the famous inventors like, oh my goodness, my mind's gone blank, like Bell, yeah,
yeah.
Alexander Graham Bell, how many contradictions did he solve, or did he just optimize things?
I think he was a an occasional contradiction solver. So I think there are characters in history where if you look at their solutions, so the one we did some years ago was Thomas Edison. So he had 1,200 patents, just under 1,200 patents with his name on, and a fair few of those solve contradictions. Well, I think what's interesting about Thomas Edison is out of these 40 inventive principles that we found, he used 5 of them. So I
Right.
think, yeah, I sometimes use him as an example that says, okay, well, here's somebody who's been extraordinarily successful. Yeah, he used a fraction of the total number of principles out there, but yeah, he was nevertheless still successful. So yeah, this method doesn't have to be complicated. Yeah, you can go away with one inventive principle that you hadn't thought about before and be successful with it.
Right, but I guess the point is if you toss enough coins or whatever, some
Yeah,
of them
yeah,
are going to land heads up. That's a crap
yeah.
analogy.
I mean, yeah,
You know what I mean? You
by
have enough.
definition,
Yeah,
by
yeah.
definition, anybody before 1946 that invented anything did not use this method because it didn't exist.
So
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 it's
so culturally, what you get is that people will say, "Well, look at all these, all these icons of invention or whatever," and
yeah,
and they'll say, "Well, what did they do? They just did they got knocked down. They kept on going, and it's all about persistence." So that's one of
yeah,
the memes, and the other one is brainstorming, which I believe there's been studies on that to prove that it's absolutely a waste of time. It's actually counterproductive. You're better off, thinking in the shower. So, that is sort of, what is it? It's like chaff. You're,
yes, the place where
the
good ideas go to
world,
die.
yes, but you're trying to kind of aim in a direction, and all this chaff is getting in the way, and people are thinking, "Oh, I'm going to go this way." You're trying to lead them.
Yeah,
There's all these distractions, but uh,
I mean, I take the point. I think that what's interesting for me is so what's the why do you need a systematic approach? Because mankind hasn't needed it before. Answer number one is the world changes much more quickly now, so you can't wait for trial and error.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I think more important than that is you say, okay, well, yeah, I think every year China graduates more engineers than exist in the whole of the UK, for example. So they produce a new UK's worth of engineers every year. So they don't need a systematic process; they've just got numbers. Yeah, but they're the one of the very few parts of the world that is institutionally introducing TRIZ and insisting on the use of TRIZ inside companies in China. So I think they recognise numbers is not enough. If you really want to win the game, then you have numbers and you have method.
right. Which is we're meant to be cheering up people, Darrell.
Yes,
But never mind, never mind. So, well, I was even if they weren't trying to introduce it, just statistically, there was probably going to be a small fraction of them using trees of a large number of people. Sorry, not them.
yeah,
You're going to end up dwarfing the people here if there's a low uptake. But it's kind of worse than that. If you
true.
take a
Yes, I mean, yeah.
very
If we're looking for an upbeat message that goes inside that one, is they're very bad at teaching it thus far.
yeah. But this is not this is not an them versus us. You could say it's a really good thing
I
because
think, I mean,
for humanity, on
in,
balance, it
yeah,
potentially is good.
in terms of solving the problems that humanity is experiencing right now, we need more problem solvers and we need more effective problem solvers. So yeah, forget
Yeah,
about
yeah, yeah,
nationality. We just need
yeah.
more creative
Exactly.
problem solvers.
Right.
Is that
Uh,
suitably upbeat enough?
I'm so upbeat. I'm gonna have a Heineken Zero to celebrate.
Living the high life.
So I think that was another good conversation. It kind of seemed to slip by very well.
Yes.
So
Yes. Thank you, Mike. Thank you for your
so
insights and time.
well, thank you for
As
your
I said, look
wisdom and
forward to your
knowledge. Yes.
I look forward to your AI skills with the graphic that's going to go with this week's podcast. I've,
Oh, I've gone off
what,
AI. I think it's too scary. The last one. I don't want to look at it.
yeah.
Okay. Right.
Right.
It's bye from me and it's bye from Darrell. Cheerio.
Thank you. Bye.